Right. So if I said to you, Jonah, look, I'm a Nazi, sure, but I'm a liberal Nazi. That's insane.
Dude, she's saying it. She's saying it's insane.
She's realizing, she's noticing.
She's so close.
She's realizing what it is.
Yeah, she's so close, but so far.
Yeah, we're going to be covering Sarah Hurwitz, Obama's former speechwriter, and talking
the legend.
Yeah, talking about her brilliant commentary on Palestine. I know we did a bit of this the other day, but she's constantly producing ever more bangers.
Since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel, and I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media.
The really weird bookstore is a funny part too. Because I mean, like, she's not entirely wrong. Like, you would have to go to maybe like a niche bookstore, like maybe like a leftist bookstore or whatever. But it's just funny that she would characterize that as like a very weird bookstore.
But even then, it's still like, most people would, like, most bookstores would have been carrying books about like the Middle East and Palestine from like leftist perspectives. Even mainstream ones that carry it in the UK now have not, they didn't just start like carrying it now. And yeah, someone said, what the fuck is global media? Like, what does she mean by global media? Just learning about the rest of our world. She wants to live in the Vietnam era where the only stuff you could get is, just this American government propaganda. It is truly amazing that she felt comfortable saying this. And kind of even more amazing that she thought that this was like, is a way to address the problems faced by the American Jewish community. No one can know anything about what's going on in the world.
She's also a member of the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Council. So she's the Obama speechwriter, and she's on the board there. Yeah,
I mean, like, it is just truly unbelievable. And someone just made this point. You could always find Chomsky books in Barnes and Noble. Yeah, like
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, Chomsky's been like a pretty significant academic, and also you could have probably found other people who were there.
Yeah, a friend of mine was at Indigo, which is like big no-no, owned by like massive Zionist, and they sell Elon Pape books there. I'm not even joking.
Amazing.
They sent me a picture of his one of his relatively new ones, the very short history of Israel Palestine. That book, it was in the middle of an Indigo.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that just also shows you that there's just a growing appetite to learn about the Middle East, and you can't close Pandora's box. People want to know what's going on there and form their opinions about it. And just people saying, oh no, you can't do that, and that it's a problem that once upon a time this was in less bookstores is crazy to me. Like, what is wrong with people learning and forming their own opinions? It doesn't really look good for the whole, like, Israel defending cause if the prerequisite of it is that you just don't know anything about Palestine.
But it also kind of implies that, like, up until this point, there might have been, like, a concerted effort to keep those books hidden or, in the realm of, like, what she calls weird bookstores, which, I mean, it just kind of shows that, like, the lid is being blown off the operation. There's just not really any going back now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, as I say, you cannot close Pandora's box. It's not possible. It's not a thing that's going to happen. And sitting there and pretending that you will is just so stupid. Because it also just isn't going to address the problems that the pro-Israel movement is facing.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. The amount of legitimacy that it has lost is irredeemable. It will never come back.
Of course, and like the answer to that is not just banning more books and preventing people from learning anything about it. The answer is, well, there isn't really an answer, especially among like young American right-wingers. Like, what do you even do? Deport more brown people and say it's because of Israel? Is that really going to reinforce or solve the problems that American right-wingers have with Israel? Because somehow I don't think it will, because it's not like they're the ones protesting. It's more like they're the ones being groypers on the internet.
Exactly. Yeah. I just, that's something that we'll probably get into when we talk more about this lady. But there's like, Zionists have a skill at feeding into anti-Semitic tropes the way like an actual anti-Semite would. And we'll get into that later when she talks about like the Hollywood thing. But it's just incredible. Like she has a knack for feeding into these tropes.
So she was the speechwriter for Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, and Barack Obama. She...
Amazing.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. John Kerry?
I think that since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel. And I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. But today, we have social media, which is a global medium, right? Its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews. And
That's wow. I mean, it just seems like the democratization of media is something that's going to, bite these people in the ass, because you can't keep an ethno-supremacist project under wraps forever. Eventually things will blow over. And
that's like the main thing that, like, whenever I talk to people who are so confident in Israel's military prowess and are like, Israel is doing epic, amazing things and blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, what you even say to this, because you're not going to stop people thinking about Palestine. What you're going to do, ban Al Jazeera, ban everyone. That is only going to increase people's interest in the topic. The only way to deal with it is like through a full-on authoritarian crackdown on anyone who speaks out against Israel. But even then, like, these states don't really possess the capacity to do it. And all it does is add much more legitimacy to the pro-Palestine movement. Like, doing the slow, the slow strangling authoritarianism is much smarter. But, like, that's not something that these people want to do. Like, this person just wants outright, like, banning of the global bookstore.
Yeah, the global medium bookstore.
and also, just on the topic of, like, democratizing media, like, social media is somewhat democratized, but realistically, right-wing reactionary content, which gives very simple answers, is always going to be favored by algorithms, right? Like, and if that isn't good enough for, like, people like this, then where does it end? What you have to sign up and, like, write a declaration that you love Jewish people. Like, that's literally what she said. The problem is that we all don't love Jewish people enough. And
it's so funny, because didn't Netanyahu just, like, inject millions of dollars into YouTube, and didn't he, like, mention wanting to purchase TikTok? I'm pretty sure what's his name, Ellison, did, right?
Yeah, Larry Ellison has been... I don't know if the purchase has gone through.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. But it's just funny to say that these companies, these social media platforms are hotbeds for people who don't like Jews. But it's like, if Ellison is eyeballing TikTok, that would not be someone who, doesn't like Jews owning the platform.
No.
That would be a Zionist owning the platform. And Netanyahu giving how much to YouTube? How much to Google? I can't remember. It was
I don't even know.
So this is just a moot point from the jump.
100%. Yeah, these aren't really very significant or smart points that she's talking about. But,
no.
Then, of course, like, the Zionist project's not sending their best. Well, there isn't really a best. Because most, like, most decent authors and writers are just not going to be interested in forever defending Zionism.
So while in the 1990s, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes, today, those media outlets...
Al Jazeera and Nick Fuentes in the same breath.
Yeah, I know. At the global bookstore. This is the world that they want to take away from you. The global bookstore that sells Al Jazeera books and Nick Fuentes.
Yeah. I heard Nick Fuentes is actually a writer for Al Jazeera now. Apparently.
Yeah. They're employing him. He's a great guy, according to Al Jazeera.
Today, those media outlets find them. They find them on their phones. It's also this increasingly post-literate media. Less and less text, more and more videos. So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of...
You would know this better than I would, but isn't TikTok, like, very quick to clamp down on anything they deem
100%, 100,000,000%. One of the problems that I always had, and one of the reasons that I felt my account was targeted, is that even amongst big pro-Palestine creators, I remember one time a friend of mine, Isabel, she posted when there were, like, the passports of the aid workers, and her video got taken down. Her video didn't get taken down. It got hundreds of thousands of views. But whenever I would show, like, any blood on TikTok, my videos would be taken down. And I'm not saying, like, like it's a preferential treatment or anything, but what I'm saying is that the algorithm was very punishing, and I think it would target, and not to say she's not even a great anti-Zionist voice, she's reached so many people, she's got like 500,000 followers, but the algorithm was so weird at times, and that it was like specific videos that it didn't like gaining traction would be shut down. But yes, specifically, like just the lack of to be so confident to talk about this, and to have written speeches for Obama, and to not have a base level of understanding of how these social media platforms operate is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like not knowing that actually TikTok doesn't show that content, that's actually much more a Twitter X thing. Like it's crazy. It's truly unbelievable.
That's insane. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing over on TikTok because I don't use it that much, but I hear you're a pretty good TikTok dancer.
Yeah. That's what I've been doing. They've had to censor
Little
it,
birdie
mate.
told me.
Yeah. They've been censoring it.
They told me that you're throwing it back too hard. They had to clamp down.
Yeah, throwing it back at the cookout, mate.
Yeah.
Carnage in Gaza. And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage. So I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene. And, I think, unfortunately...
You kind of think at a certain point you take a look in the mirror and just say, if I'm sounding obscene to all these young people who are actually engaging with this social media that I don't engage with, that maybe I might be the problem, that maybe my views are outdated and the world that I'm trying to cling to isn't working anymore. Maybe, just maybe. But of course, no, she'd just rather not deal with that and would rather live in this fantasy world that won't even save Israel in the way she wants it to, you know?
No, she's doing the meme. You know the meme where someone's like in the pool and like that person peed and everyone else is pointing at them?
Yeah.
That person's conception is that everybody else peed and they're,
Yeah.
That's what she's doing right now. Wow.
A very smart, I think, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education. In this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit because, Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
Dude, you know what? I know this lady says that she's like a liberal Zionist or whatever. This is Kahanist shit. This is literally never again Kahanist shit.
100%. Like just feeling confident in saying that. And it's like I think I've mentioned this, and I definitely mentioned it last time, that it was said in 2018 by the UN, never again has become time and time again. If anything, what was needed after the Holocaust was like a deep look at society of like, oh my God, you reach this kind of like zenith of this genocide in Europe, where it was carried out in like a really meticulous way. Although in many ways, like mass killing a defenseless population is something that has gone on over and over again. And Israel is just using the same techniques as the Nazis, and being upset that people, come to this conclusion is just unbelievable, and saying that that's a bad thing. Like, surely that would be the aim of Holocaust education, to end racism, bigotry, so it doesn't happen again.
That's the first thing I thought. I thought like, well, if Holocaust education is convincing specifically young people that murders on the basis of someone's ethnicity, large groups of people being killed for their ethnicity, would that not be the precise goal of Holocaust education, to prevent that, to pick up on these patterns regardless of who the in-group and out-group were? Last time I was here, I mentioned that there's like a really great Shlomo Sand quote pertaining to hyperfixating on the victims of the past, and by consequence of that, becoming blinded to the people who may be calling out for help today. I actually found the quote if you want me to read it.
Yeah, please.
I went through the book. It's really nice, dude. I have always avoided wallowing in the invocation of past sufferings, and never dreamed of repairing the misfortunes of yesterday. My own place is among those who try to discern and root out, or at least reduce, the excessive injustices of the here and now. The persecuted and victimized of yesterday seem to me less a matter of priority than the persecuted of today or the victimized of tomorrow. I also know how history serves only too often as an arena in which the roles of hunter and hunted, strong and weak, are shuffled around. If that doesn't wrap up the current moment perfectly, I don't know what would. It's like the most pertinent quote I could think of.
Yeah, and I think that the craziest part really about everything she's talking about here is that she's basically upset that people would see the Holocaust and its violence as a form of racism. That what it was a political thing of the Nazis who demonized Jewish people, and then anti-Semitism ratcheted up over and over again. That millions of Jewish people were kind of just like, first of all, people were just like being executed in the street, and then they moved it towards like labor and death camps where they just sent millions of Jewish people to kill them. That Nazism didn't just burst out of nowhere, that it tapped into long-standing European anti-Semitism. And in the case of what we're talking about with Palestine and such, what we kind of see is, actually, this didn't just burst onto the scene out of nowhere. That what we see is a trajectory that begins with early Zionist settlers coming and not wanting Palestinians to work on their land eventually, because they're like, no, we need a Jewish state with a Jewish majority. And so if we, have Palestinians there working on it, that won't allow that to happen. And so what's the logical endpoint of that? The elimination of the people who are there?
100%. And that's understood even by Zionist intellectuals on the topic, right? Like Benny Morris, who, I cite a lot for hating the guy, but he said it himself. The Zionist project could not come to be without major displacement of Arab population. Yeah, the logic of eliminating Palestinians and the European logic of eliminating European Jewry are siblings.
1000%. The two are the Zionist project is premised on colonialism. It is premised on transforming Jewish people into Europeans by them going to Palestine and doing settlement there, specifically settler colonialism, and building a state that erases the Palestinian people. And that has culminated over years and years in the biggest bombardment campaign in Gaza that took aim specifically at, Palestinian people.
100%. Yeah.
To just destroy social life, not to destroy Hamas as was claimed. But
no.
Someone also said Hurwitz literally only cares about protecting Jewish people, and that in that goal, anything and everything is justified to her. Criticizing her particularist morality is anti-Semitism. Yes, I tend to agree with you on what you're saying, and I think we both do. Like but what we're saying is that what she's upset about is that Holocaust education has provoked a lot of young Jewish people to see what's going on in Gaza and draw comparisons.
Suddenly, like, Jews control Hollywood, right? Because, like, you made us do that. I don't, it's like, I guess I would just gently push back on the idea that Jews have power in America. I think we have tremendous status. I think we have, we've certainly achieved like tremendous professional and cultural achievement. We certainly have achieved, wealth and like professional success. But I don't necessarily know, we're 2% of the population. So if the majority turned against us, I'm not totally sure what we would do, right? Like I'm thinking about like power in very kind of practical ways. We definitely have power in Israel, like as a state, right? But I don't necessarily think Israel is like the most powerful state in the world or all powerful. I think it's often kind of deemed the source of all the world's problems, and kind of, whereas like this is a state the size of New Jersey. It's not.
She's doing the New Jersey,
of course.
She's anytime, bruh. Anytime they pull it out.
Yeah, people cannot resist this thing of going like, Israel is small and therefore all your analysis doesn't make sense. But it's like, also, as I've said before, I don't believe that Israel is like the all-powerful state doing everything, but it is certainly the biggest destabilizing influence in the Middle East. Like, just undeniably.
Sure, absolutely.
That's what Israel is. And you either say it or you don't. And just being like, oh, no. I can't believe people are saying that. I can't believe people feel that way. It's just crazy. The only thing is does she again mention the Hollywood thing? Because is that just like a clip at the start?
Might. I think that might have been a teaser for what's to come.
I certainly think it's important.
Certainly a great teaser.
Oh, yeah.
I'm certainly excited.
This is a state the size of New York. It's not. I know we think it's very important. I certainly think it's important in the scheme of the world's thing. Like I would probably focus more on like China, Russia, Iran. I think the obsession with Israel is it's a reflection of very old historical ideas about Jews. But I think I certainly think you're right. Like what you're alluding to with like, there is this trend in history to say there is this disgusting thing, and Jews, you have to do this disgusting thing because you can't do anything else. We're not going to let you do anything else. You're going to do this disgusting thing. And then when you do it, we're going to call you disgusting. So, okay, you can't, centuries ago, Jews were not allowed to be in guilds. They were barred from many professions, but they were allowed to do money lending, which was considered disgusting. And so they did. And people said you were disgusting money lenders. And they developed skills in finance. And so they became quite accomplished in finance and banking. And we were kind of said like, oh, you guys are disproportionate in finance and banking, right? Because you made us, right? Decades ago in America, Jews were pushed out of the more kind of classy art forms of like theater and publishing and told, you guys, there's vaudeville, which is kind of like, crass down market. Like that's the only thing Jews can do. So they're like, okay, I guess we'll do that. And it's like, oh, you're disgusting. But then they developed into Hollywood. And suddenly it's like Jews control Hollywood, right? Because like you made us do that. I don't, it's like there is something to it.
You know more about this, so do you want to talk about it?
Well, it's like she is what she's saying about Jews being excluded from like professional guilds and being forced to go into money lending. That's true. Like the thing is, there are like sociological explanations for like what she's talking about, but she's just conceding the point right now that like Jews control Hollywood. She's like, oh yeah, Jews control Hollywood. You made us. But that's not even true. Like there are corporations that own studios and stuff, and there are Jews involved. But like the idea that Jews control Hollywood is not true. These things can be explained sociologically.
Yeah.
She's correct. When it comes to like the nascent movie business, yeah, it was not deemed a respectable industry. Jewish people were, I guess I wouldn't say forced, but they gravitated towards it because they couldn't really do anything else. And that did turn into Hollywood. But this is kind of my issue with both Zionists and anti-Semites is they're very careless when it comes to addressing anti-Semitic tropes. And it's like she's saying she's not pushing back to it. What she said was someone is accusing Jews of owning Hollywood, and then she goes, yeah, because you made us. But that's not something you should concede. It just isn't true.
Yeah. I mean, like, and also, like, most of the things of, like, what actually matters about, like, domination of Hollywood is much more that Hollywood was just a vehicle for US propaganda and still remains it for, like, militaristic propaganda, And it's like, yeah, Israel definitely factors into that. And you definitely get, like, films that I love when people talk about this on TikTok. If you're wondering the incredible things, it's like when, like, a film just goes, like, some random character who's not Jewish goes, I learned Krav Maga in Israel. Or it's like, this guy's epic. He's a soldier from Israel. He's a spy from Israel. But the other funny thing is, and I doubt she'll mention this, but it does actually tap into kind of like understanding Israel in the sense of like when people are like, Israel controls the world and Israel does all of these like blah, blah, blah. Israel forced America to go to war with Iran. Like when I talk about that, I think like in part America offered Israel an off-ramp because Israel didn't have the capacity to destroy the nuclear sites. And also because Israel wanted regime change in Iran and they didn't get it. And Iran was able to hit Israel pretty hard in certain areas. But what I think is like the thing that I want to talk about here is have you seen the clip where Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor is like, yeah, Israel is doing our dirty work in Iran by making Israel into like this, militaristic state that fights America's wars and like, holds and carries out American actions in the Middle East. You are going to convince some people that Israel is like this all-powerful state puppeteering everything. But thus, the way to address that is not to just go, yeah, that's true. It's to say, actually, this is wrong that Israel does these things. It is wrong that there is this European-style nation state in the Middle East, just like carrying out American foreign policy interests and European ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why that's mostly my gripe with her presentation here is it's just there's a way to carefully address like the underlying socioeconomic causes for something. So Israel's relevance in the Middle East and usefulness to its Western allies obviously comes in the form of its material reality. So it can, as you said, fight on behalf of or do the bidding of America, Germany, whatever.
Exactly.
That would be that would be a way to describe it in a way where you can understand the material, the economic benefits that Israel can allot its Western allies. And same goes for understanding the prevalence of Jewish people in the nascent film industry at the time. It was an answer to economic material realities. They weren't allowed in guilds. They weren't allowed in the more professional, respected industries at the time. So you can go about it that way. I just don't like the fact that she conceded on the point that, oh yeah, you made us run Hollywood. That's stupid.
I'm starting to develop the feeling that Sarah Horowitz may not actually care about anti-Semitism or really anything apart from defending Israel. Also, someone corrected me. Yeah, it was Friedrich Merz, wasn't it, who said the thing about Israel doing our dirty work and fighting our wars against Iran. But someone said, by the way, couldn't her argument also apply to Hamas and Hezbollah? I get what you mean as in terms of like people made them do these things and then demonized them for it, because I actually think that you make a great point there, and something I guess neither of us really thought about in terms of like Hamas and Hezbollah are responses to Israeli occupation and violence in their land.
Of course, 100%. I mean, I'm not much of an idealist. I'm not sure that these grand ideas are what shape our reality. I just think people react to their material conditions, and that's what causes people to adopt, maybe a problematic ideology or whatever it may be.
Yeah, 100%.
I just think it's weird to address what she perceives as Jews running Hollywood with going into a bit of the sociological reasons for that, but then just you can't do it at all when it comes to a Palestinian. You can't at all when it comes to a Houthi or a Yemen. That conversation is out of the question.
Yeah, 100%. I really agree with you in what you're saying there, like just about how, she wouldn't give any like attention as to why Palestinians are the way they are, and like would frame this like grand sort of Middle East where the problems are that young people are against Israel because they've all been attacked by the global bookstore of Nick Fuentes and,
and Al Jazeera. Yeah, they started it together.
Yeah. She's just an amazing lady. Truly.
She's awesome. She's so awesome.
That's a little bit cruel. This idea that like you've succeeded in this thing that we forced you into, and now we're going to condemn you for that. And that I just feel like, yikes. For sure. But look, we're not a powerless people, right? We have power in Israel. We have nuclear weapons and an army.
She was Barack Obama's speechwriter. I feel like probably you should have been told, hey, maybe don't mention that Israel has nuclear weapons,
Yeah. Yeah, right. Fuck, man. Oh my God. Let me pull up another one.
Like, obviously people know that, but it's not meant to be true, is it? Like, it's not meant to be publicly known.
No.
That like Israel has nuclear weapons, and she's just like,
well, that's the whole contention with Israel's nuclear program, is they've been this like sneaky as hell about it.
Yeah.
She's on a generational run.
We're kind of entering a post-literate society, and if like all day long your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage.
Bro, she's so mad at TikTok, but like TikTok that's not even the one I would be pissed at. Like if I was like super pro-Israel, I would be more pissed at like Twitter, maybe even Instagram, but like TikTok is...
Yeah, I guess, but the thing is both of like Meta is like arguably one of the most Zionist platforms, but I think the thing that really winds them up about TikTok is that because the audience is so much younger and that there's not really this big demographic of maybe like, I don't know, 40, 50-year-olds, maybe even 30-year-olds, like older people who are like, well, older people than basically Zoomers. I think the problem is she's really scared because like when you look at young people's opinions of Israel, particularly Republicans is the really shocking aspect of it. Like just no one gives a fuck about Israel at all. No one gives a singular shit about Israel. Like, I'm sorry. And I kind of, and like, I mentioned this today, like whatever Israel does, they're never going to be able to do anything to erase what Israel has done. Like,
no, there's no coming back, bro. They're cooked. I don't know much about like the landscape on TikTok, so correct me if I'm incorrect. But is the general vibe over there that it's genuinely anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, and not so much like neo-Nazi? Is that kind of the vibe of TikTok?
I mean, the problem
are there
the problem with TikTok is I think TikTok has a problem with just not banning people who are just outright Nazis. Like it genuinely does. There's no two ways about it. For some reason, TikTok just has an inability to ban a Nazi. But like generally, I don't think you have as many accounts who are like just glory to Nick Fuentes and stuff. I mean, there are people who do it, but they don't have big platforms. And you see it in comment sections, and people do. There's clearly an appeal to a certain extent of like people like it.
Is it the same as like Instagram? Because I know Instagram, if I go on Instagram Reels, the comments are like they can get pretty unhinged. Is it the same on TikTok, or is it a little bit better?
It is the same on TikTok to an extent. You have some really crazy shit going on TikTok, but I don't think it's as bad as Instagram Reels. I mean, I know that there's literally a popular account on TikTok, which is just on Instagram, which is just a guy who cosplays as Hitler. like that hasn't been banned. I don't know if it's still out there, but he's like some guy from the Middle East who just dresses up as like Hitler. It's like really, really interesting things are happening over there on that platform.
So you're saying that they don't ban Nazis on TikTok, but they're punitive towards pro-Palestinian accounts?
Yeah, I don't think I think if you can check this and verify this for yourself. If you like report someone who's a Nazi, then you know it will be like battered down. It will just be ignored. It will just be ignored. And I think that they're very punishing to Palestinian accounts in terms of the algorithm, and have been increasingly so even before the purchase by Oracle. I think that this has been a problem for a long time. And one of the other ways that they're now punishing people or making it like unviable to become just not possible and hostile to becoming a political content creator is basically by reducing the amount of money that's ever possible to earn. Like, it doesn't seem to be as big a problem on YouTube for like basically, you know, RPM or CPM or whatever it's called. Like, you can't really sustain yourself as a political content creator on TikTok, even with millions of views. If you're talking about Palestine, the platform will punish you. And obviously this disincentivizes people who might have thought, well, maybe I could do like a career out of this and I could talk about politics. It really moves you away from the platform, coupled with like a really punishing algorithm in terms of, I think it operates on the basis of when you have a video pop off about Palestine, that your next few videos are guaranteed to be shadow banned, which is basically what prevents you getting the momentum to push your account further. Like, when I first started, I would get, you know, a bad video when I had like started the platform, was talking about Palestine pre-October the 7th, was like 4,000 views. And now sometimes I get that and it's like, yeah, okay, not every video is a banger, but I've got hundreds of thousands of followers, and you know, you'd expect like some people to see it. But unfortunately, it's not how the platform works. And like, I think I just prefer generally YouTube as like a platform.
Me too.
Like, put frankly,
Me too.
and I think that it has.
I don't really like it either.
And I think that YouTube has like an ability to, the kind of thing she complains about here of like post-literate society. Like, obviously there's a lot of slop on this platform and people who just like spew nonsense all the time. But like, also you do have this element of like videos like yours, mine, Bad Empanadas, Noah's, many other people on this platform who make videos and just spam it with sources. Like, not spam it, like put in a reasonable sources where it's needed. And it's like, you know, I think that that's good. And like, calling that post-literate, when if anything, I think many of us are encouraging people, hey, maybe go out and read and do something that's interesting and learn more about this, is actually trying to move us away from being post-literate, if you get me. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I know what you mean, for sure. That's one of the reasons I like YouTube as well. It's just, I think it's all around like a better platform. I just hate that it's getting a lot of, you know, Zionist money. I keep hearing that whenever like an ad plays on one of my videos, like my anti-Zionist videos, it's like a pro-Israel ad saying, no, Israel's not starving anybody. Here's the food. Look.
Really?
Yeah, someone said that.
It probably, well, they targeted that specifically in countries where they thought populations were susceptible. So maybe that person is from Germany, Austria, somewhere in Europe, where they thought that it was like... Maybe. Yeah, and someone just put post-literate. What the hell? She loves the term post-literate. She says it.
Yeah, dude, she said it twice.
She loves it. She loves it. She's a real thinker of our time.
Entering a post-literate society, and if like all day long your brain is just smashed again and again by TikTok with really upsetting carnage in Gaza, then like you're talking, and like, not to, I'm sorry if this is a graphic thing to say, but like when I'm trying to make arguments in favor, you know, for Israel, I realize I'm talking through a wall of dead children. Like, that's what people are seeing. So when I'm like, yeah, but it's 1.5 civilians for...
Wow.
They're just seeing carnage.
But right? That's like, the emotional blackmail.
This guy seems great. This guy seems like a great commentator on Palestine. Real nice guy.
Shit.
And it's like...
Wow.
It's just, I feel like when you're saying, I'm trying to talk to people through a wall of dead children, once again, you might be the problem. When your argument is, actually, no, there's a 1 to 1.5 civilian to combatant ratio, which isn't true, which is just not true, is it? Like, it's just...
I don't think I've ever seen such compassionate people in my life. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
These are wonderful.
This is who I'd want writing my speeches if I was the woke anti-Israel president. I'm sure of that.
They're just seeing carnage.
But
right?
that's the emotional blackmail.
I mean, fair enough. But like, again, I mean, that's nice. But like, again, I'm hearing that through a wall of screaming children. It's like, I think it's a harder argument than we're understanding. So I actually really strongly think that like Jewish day schools should absolutely say no child owns a smartphone until senior year. They don't own one at all, period. We give it to them senior year and we teach them. Like this whole not during the day, great, nice start. No smartphone at all until senior year. Dumb phone, sure. But I think that we've got to give our kids' brains a chance and their mental health a chance before they start getting really warped.
The smartphones are turning them anti-Israel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure people should be having smartphones anyway. Like maybe there's merit to that argument, but on the basis of making you support Israel, crazy.
Yeah, it's just so my reasoning for maybe not giving my kid a smartphone right away would be, child predators, seeing things they shouldn't be seeing, not being anti-Holocaust, bro. That's the craziest.
Yeah. No smartphone in case my kid opposes Israel. In case my kid, my 5-year-old child keeps accidentally going on the settler colonialism Wikipedia. I had to set up a block. I call my ISP and I'm like, yeah, you can leave on all the pornography and stuff. Can you just make sure that Overzealots videos are blocked? Also, by the way, I just want to note that already young children who are Jewish are being told that you have to support Israel, right? We know this is not some big secret. From a young age, there are schools which teach young Jewish kids, you love Israel, love Israel, love Israel. Even some of my friends who went to Christian schools, apparently they, when I went to school, I had a lady who came in and she just brought in dreidels and shit. And we were loving that, It was one of those events where it's a Muslim guy comes in, or a Muslim, well, it was generally Muslim guys, I think. A Christian guy comes in, maybe an atheist, and then also a Jewish person who's this is Hanukkah, and you're going to spin a thing around, spin a dreidel. Yeah. But then in the case of my friend, they were just yeah, when I was at school, this lady came in and was just you are not Jewish, but you have got to support Israel. And it's just these kids are
really?
10. Yeah.
Christian school.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I assume maybe it was just that their school was more Christian than mine. I didn't technically go to one, but we had to sing. Yeah. I mean, in Canada, you're just singing the national anthem every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas we had to sing we had to say the Lord's Prayer before we ate every day. Yeah.
So did I, actually.
Did you? No.
Yeah.
I guess that's because you're in BC, right? It's a...
Yeah, I went to a very Catholic school, lots of Catholic people. I guess because I lived in an area, there was lots of Filipino people and lots of Italian people, so it was just very Catholic upbringing, just people around me. My parents were not, but just my friends, the neighbors, all of that was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably they should have realized that if they'd banned your smartphone when you were a child, you wouldn't have you wouldn't have gone down the horrible path of making anti-Israel content on the internet.
She's right, dude. I was radicalized by smartphone.
Yeah.
I should have kept my Nokia, bro.
Yeah. Also, the names. Sorry, just quickly. The names of this. The name of this podcast, Being Jewish. Jonah Platt. Who is Jonah Platt?
I saw this clip earlier. He's I'm guessing it's he's obviously a Zionist himself. He's entertaining this.
I've just searched him. Sorry, and it's come up with Tinder, Grindr, Waze. These are all Jewish. Jonah Platt on Storied. Don't take it out of context. Is Grindr Jewish?
Grindr? I mean, you're asking the wrong. You're asking the wrong guy, man. I don't really know.
Oh my god, I can't believe I've never heard someone talking about this as an example of how in their deranged belief of how but apparently it was founded by a guy called Joel Simchai, who is the founder and former CEO of Grindr and Blender.
Oh,
wow.
Blender? What's Blender? The animating?
No, it's a dating app. I assume it's a geosocial dating app, similar to its predecessor, Grindr.
I don't know shit about dating apps, bro. I honestly, do you know how I met my girlfriend? I sent her 100 emoji in the DMs, and that's the only thing I've ever done. That's all I've ever done.
Really? Well, I mean, it's clear that the riz is there, mate.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that we're in for some biting political analysis from a guy who's talking about Grindr, Waze, and Blender being Jewish.
October 7th happens, and I'm texting with him. I'm like, do you still want me to come? What should I do? And we decided the tour would go on. And so I it wasn't a response to October 7th. It was really planned beforehand, but it became a response to October
Sure.
7th. And I came straight from like 1997 to 2023
Right.
and the shock that I felt. I mean, on so many, we're very distracted by these big encampments and protests, which are terrible, of course. But I'm much more worried about
What? Dude, she knows her audience, obviously.
But what did she? I'm
Oh
not
my
sure what she meant there. 1997 to 2023. Well, she was a speechwriter for Obama. Like, what was she?
Yeah,
What was the context of that?
I came straight from like 1997 to 2023
Right.
and the shock that I felt. I mean,
What does that mean? Was she?
we're very distracted by these big encampments and protests, which are terrible, of course. But I'm much more worried about the pervasive systemic atmosphere on these campuses, like the air kids breathe.
Yeah.
In a lot of campuses, Israel is in the same moral bucket as the KKK and the Nazis.
Good base. Honestly, base. Like fuck.
Yeah.
Right. So if I said to you, Jonah, look, I'm a Nazi, sure, but I'm a liberal Nazi. That's insane. Right. Or,
Dude, she's saying it. She's saying it's insane.
She's realized. She's noticing.
She's so close.
She's realizing what it is.
Yeah, she's so close, but so far.
I'm in the KKK, but I don't hate minorities. Like, that's monstrous. Like, come on, we're not going to have a conversation about that. And that's what I think a lot of students on campus hear when a Jewish student says, well, look, I'm a Zionist, I'm a liberal Zionist. I care about Palestinian rights. It's like Israel is now so evil, so untouchable that there's no point of contact you can have with it, just like there's no point of contact you can have with the KKK or Nazis. And once you're in that level of rationality, there's no conversation to be had.
I like him just sort of solemnly shaking his head. But like,
yeah.
What I will say is, you know what's interesting about listening to her? At times she comes across as very foolish, but then at other times she comes across as like saying something that's vaguely insightful, or at least insightful into the problems of the pro-Israel movement. And she's articulating like why I think it is so much importance to harp on liberal Zionists more than it is necessarily to harp on like really monstrous characters in the Zionist movement. Like, of course, it's interesting to talk about Kahana. Oh shit, that's a good podcast topic. Just thinking of it. Sorry to derail. Talk about Kahana and the right in Israel.
I'll add it.
Yeah.
I'll write it.
But like to focus on them is easy because like Kahana, like genuinely, you can compare Kahana's thought and literature to like Hitler's.
Hitler.
Like it's really easy to do. But like taking a step back and realizing actually, fuck, liberal Zionism and like platitudes towards a two-state solution and stuff are really, really, really bad, and they are just as problematic as someone who is like openly avowing settlement and stuff, because the liberal Zionist is someone who still supports it because they support the existence of Israel, and the Israeli government show no willingness to move away from, from this kind of stuff. And now she kind of sees, oh God, people see Israel for what it is, and I don't like that,
Yeah. I don't think she's an unintelligent person, to be honest. I think she's just very careful, and she's she knows what she's doing. She's very dishonest would be the word, because she understands these topics, right?
Yeah.
That's another, like you said, like that's why I've for the past year been very focused on the liberal Zionists, because they're good at evading the criticism that I think they deserve. They're still permissible on a mainstream level, whereas obviously like a Kahanist is not. You have these this ideology that is permitted, it's allowed, it's often championed, it's cheered on by the mainstream establishments. I think she knows what she's doing.
And it's even just thinking of this from like in the most practical way that does not give me the solution that I want. Practically here, right? One of the things we have to be talking about is how we actually would change government policy, and like for these more liberal people who are less like as pro-Palestine and maybe bang on about the two-state solution, right? And one of the ways in which we get to that is by saying, actually, when it comes to the Zionist movement, we have to say that there is no two-state solution being pushed by any Israeli government or anyone who's going to be elected. It isn't going to happen. So what are we going to do? We're going to have to put major pressure on all of Israeli society to push them towards that, so people hold the Israeli government to account. Like, Israel's not like fucking Russia, where Russia will come out of 3 years of sanctions and be fine. It's not like Iran is not fine after sanctions, and obviously both these countries feel the effects. Israel couldn't survive without no fault guarantee loans. Who's it going to trade with? What,
Oh.
massively with China and Russia? Like, sure, both of them support Israel now, and we shouldn't valorize them as like glorious, amazing revolutionaries. But like, they're not going to be able to, like influence these people. Like, sorry, they're not going to. These people are much more influenceable. And if Western society was just like, yeah, we're kind of done with Israel and like allowing them to go on in this way. Like, we have to talk about this liberal Zionism and the way in which this two-state solution is a dead end leading nowhere. And that actually, to move forward, we've got to say, these Israeli politicians are not taking a strong enough stand on settlements, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, of course. We've been over this last time I was on, but labor governments, labor leaders, the left in Israel is futile when it comes to opposing settlements. They've actually been actively encouraging them and teaming up with the right. They've done their fair share of settlement expansion themselves. I always split the two-state solution talk into like the moral category and then the practical category. The moral category being that it's not fair to ask Palestinians to accept an unjust partition of their land, no matter what. I'm not cool with settling an ethnic difference or an ethnic contention by creating an ethno-state. It's not something I'm cool with on a moral level. But on a practical level, I agree with you. There hasn't ever been an Israeli push for a genuine two-state solution. It's always ever been originally the possession of the land as a whole, as the Ben Gurion quote goes. And then in, the Rabin quote from October 5th, 1995, where he goes, we're going to give the Palestinians less than a state. So it's like, who are you going for this two-state solution? Who are we asking?
Yeah, 100%. And
it's always...
Oh, sorry, I accidentally I was just fiddling around with the stream. The thing is that, like, addressing that is of so much of importance, even for these people who want, like, even for these people who kind of just want, like, this solution of, like, a two-state. It has to be pressuring the liberal Zionists and saying, actually, look, it is clear that this problem is pervasive in Israel for decades, and that if you want to move forward, you have to really understand what Israel is. And that's the way you get your two-state solution, by pressuring Zionism, by pressuring this project that continually is unwilling to do anything, as you say, over any government. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So many Jewish students told me they tried to meet with their classmates who were harassing them and like have a conversation, and they would be told, no, that would be normalizing Zionists. I just thought, like, the extremity of this, and it's so confusing for these poor colleges.
Whoa. Groundbreaking
told,
stuff.
No, that would be normalizing Zionists. I just thought, like, the extremity of this, and it's so confusing for these poor college kids because their anti-Semitism education has been Holocaust education.
Right.
So they get to campus, they're like, well, there are no Nazis here, but I feel really unsafe, and so I'm going to gaslight myself and say, well, maybe it's anti-Zionism, not anti-Semitism, and I have to walk them through, like, okay, if a classmate of yours, I was like, can I walk through your campus with a t-shirt that says, I love Israel? And they're like, oh God, no. I'm like, okay, what if a Black student came to you and said, my campus is great for Black students, but I can't wear my Black Lives Matter t-shirt. I'd get harassed.
Bro.
Yeah.
What's she trying to say? What's the point she's trying to make?
But also, I genuinely feel like on a multitude of colleges in America, if you wore a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, especially in the climate right now, you would get harassed. Like, it's really funny to sit there and say this. Like, what are you talking about? And drawing a comparison between Black Lives Matter and, like, even if you're of the opinion, like, oh, BLM did loads of riots and stuff, and oh my God, I hate that, which is obviously not true, but like, or like it was just violence. It would not compare to, like, Israel's level of violence. You know what I mean? Like, trying to draw that comparison is insane.
Is BLM an apartheid state? I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe she's saying something true.
And the student's like, oh, that's racism. That's terrible. Great. Gay student says, my campus, great for queer students, but if I wear my Pride t-shirt, I will be harassed. Like, it's not great. That's homophobic.
Dude, Pride t-shirt is the same as the state of Israel.
Well, I mean,
that's something I learned today.
The Zionist project, it's kind of like a Pride t-shirt, Pride in genocide and taking people's land away,
Yeah.
But, like, also, once again, those things would probably happen. And someone said, still a dumb comparison. Yeah, 100%. But those people would be harassed by people who genuinely hated them for their identity and for desiring a better life. In the case of Israel, people are against it. You might get some people who came up to you and, like, were fucking groypers, but most of them don't leave the house anyway, so probably not that big an issue. But yeah, like generally it would just be people who are like, hey, I don't like Israel, and it's a bit weird you're walking around with like I love Israel t-shirts on.
It's a political distinction. Like if I disliked someone's Israel shirt, I would be having a problem with their political ideology. If I disliked someone's gay pride shirt, I would be having a problem with their readable characteristics. That's fundamentally the issue here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like, so how come if you wear your Israel t-shirt and you get harassed, you don't think that's anti-Semitism? And they're like, no, but the problem, it's not Jews, it's Israel. I'm like, okay, what if your Chinese American classmate wore a t-shirt that says I love China? Even if your classmates knew what a terrible...
Dude, I'm sorry, but like, I'm pretty sure in certain places in America, if someone wore an I love China shirt, they would absolutely get like bullied.
Mm-hmm. And also, wouldn't it be more like someone wearing like an I love the CCP t-shirt if it's the case of like, is Israel? Like, and in fact, like, people can quibble with you over like China, but like, if you believe like China has any reason to be quibbled with, you must believe that Israel deserves it much more, seeing as it's the one actively enacting like a highly mechanized genocide against Palestinians.
Absolutely. 100%. I don't know. She's like, it feels like she low-key understands the contention, but she just obfuscates it because she keeps saying like she presents the anti-Zionist argument as though it's silly, like, oh, there's no way you could possibly have an issue with Israel but not have an issue with Jews. I know she understands that is a possibility, and it's the most prevalent form of disagreement with Israel.
Who also do you think she's trying to talk to? This is quite interesting to me. Like, who, like, what group of like young Jewish people would be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go meet this lady to get my opinion on Israel? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't really know.
I'm not sure. I know she had hold on, she did something pertaining to the encampments at the colleges, right? Like I'm pretty sure she did. Like she had something to do with that.
Oh wait, I think I have found it.
I was tripping myself out.
In her new book, As a Jew, Sarah Hurwitz takes up the paradoxes faced by many Jews today, at least with those of us who live outside of Israel. Where's there a mention of the encampment here? Because I think this had something... Okay, maybe it's not her, but it feels like this could be in her. It's from the Community Synagogue of Rye. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah, if I find it, I'll let you know. But I know she talks about them all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, she said that they were shocking and hateful.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but the problem, it's not Jews, it's Israel. I'm like, okay, what if your Chinese American classmate wore a t-shirt that says I love China? Even if your classmates knew what a terrible human rights violator China is, I'm guessing they would think, well, okay, I'm sure she doesn't love the Chinese government. She's probably just passionate about her heritage, or maybe she's studying Chinese history or language. I think your classmates would give her the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And that is not something that happens for Jewish students. And it's Dara Horn, who's one of my best friends and an amazing Jewish author. She talks about the difference between poor anti-Semitism, which is like, you're a Jew, you're bad, I'm going to kill you. There is nothing you can do to be good. You can't convert, you're bad, I'm killing you. Whereas there's another kind of anti-Semitism, which is like, you're a Jew, you're bad, there is something you can do to be okay. You can give up whatever it is that the majority, think is disgusting about Judaism. And so back in the day,
if
you were a Jew...
Zionism is like tops a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
Why? How is it intrinsic to Judaism in any way, shape, or form? It's not.
Well, as a political movement, the logic of it as well, it's also really funny because it's believed to be like, or it's kind of purported now to be like the only belief that Jewish people had. But like as well, you have to remember that like, I kind of like it when it's portrayed as like Herzl versus Marx. Like Marx's belief is basically Jewish people would assimilate by Western capitalist society changing and no longer being the way that it had been organized for the last few hundred years.
Yeah.
But ultimately assimilation would occur through that way. Whereas Herzl was like, nah, I kind of like Western society, but they're never going to accept me as a Jewish person here. So what I need to do to become a European Jewish person, to be treated as a Jewish person, he literally said, I'll forever be a German Jew, even if I go to Israel. But what he was basically saying is, if we go and do settler colonization there, we will become European Jews. And in many ways, that is exactly what the Zionist project is, because they love now to cite like, no, we got all these amazing Jews from like all over the world. But like the Zionist project never really liked them. It never really wanted them. And they were basically just people who were there to like sustain a project after they got huge amounts of land with not enough people in it. And also, by the way, I'm very sure of this. David Ben-Gurion actually compared the Mizrahi Jewish people to black slaves in America. He was like, they're not necessarily the people you want in your colony, but they're gonna help you bring it forward. And Mizrahi Jewish people were only really actually accepted in like the 1970s. They weren't even allowed to remember the Holocaust until the 70s. They were told that is not your problem. That is a European Jewish thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also the quote from Ben-Gurion where he worried that an influx of Mizrahi Jews, it would turn Israel into a Levantine state. That was his big concern, his contention. So, I mean, it's very interesting to fearmonger about a state situated in the Levant, potentially becoming Levantine. But
I think I'm also starting to reach the conclusion that David Ben-Gurion might have been a little bit racist. You know what I mean? I think
he might not have been. I don't think he was that chill of a dude, honestly.
No,
he seemed kind of bad.
I think maybe he's actually a pretty fucking horrible guy.
Yeah, but it's almost like the left-wing Israelis are also bad.
Yes, 100%. It's so like I know I mention this so much, but it is why like Jabotinsky just goes, yeah, this is all bullshit. This like left-wing Zionism is utter bullshit. Like the Palestinians exist, and the only way we're going to deal with them is with my iron wall and killing them.
I said this to you last time. Like, I low-key respect his honesty, because at least he doesn't fuck around. He's just honest. This is what we're going to do. They're colonized. Colonized people will resist, so we need to be brutal.
100%. It's just the admission of like kind of what's today someone like this won't admit, but what the pro-Palestine movement sees. Someone like this is like, now we kind of need to pretend that there's like this liberal Zionist thing. Whereas he was just like, we are taking other people's land. And he doesn't, by the way, he's not sorrowful about it. You can even find early Zionists who express a little bit of sorrow about doing it. He's just like, nah, it's awesome to take people's land because we're superior to them, basically.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like there's, like to a degree, like a guy like Burl Katz-Nelson, that's the one who was, perceived as being more of like humanistic, liberal, Zionist figure. To a degree, I respect Jabotinsky more because at least he's honest. At least he's not pussyfooting around, like not telling you, oh, we need to do some sort of voluntary transfer when the transfer was conceived to not be voluntary pretty much from the jump. Like it was an euphemism for expulsion.
Yeah, 100%. Like political euphemisms are just this standard practice thing of movements like this. And I'm sorry, I won't trade in them. Like, you can see it now today with, like, you can see it more grotesquely on, like, the very clear people like, when they talk about voluntary emigration. We all know it's not voluntary. In fact, Ben-Gvir slipped up a few days ago and said, oh, he just put emigration first and then had to put voluntary in because he was clearly told, do not openly state emigration, that we're encouraging it. But I think as well, you can kind of see it as well in, that term security, because it's a euphemism.
Yeah. Oh,
Israeli security is a euphemism of killing huge amounts of Palestinians and enforcing literally Jabotinsky's doctrine of the Iron Wall. Run from it, cry about it all you want. That euphemism of security may make you feel better about what you're saying, but you're still doing horrible things to get it.
100%. There's a book by Noor Masala. It's called The Expulsion of Palestinians, The Concept of Transfer. I can't remember the full subtitle.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of the name.
I think you would really like it, or whoever's watching, I think they would really like it.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be a great recommendation for people.
Convert to Christianity, they wouldn't kill you. And so back in the day, if you were a Jew converted to Christianity, they wouldn't kill you for some time at least.
Yes, I have.
For a while, maybe.
If you got lucky.
You could convert. And today, I think I think about my parents' generation, the 50s, if you were a Jew and, just get rid of your last name, your nose, your Jewy gestures, right? Be less Jewy and then you're safe. Today, it's, get rid of your Zionism and then you're safe. And so you see these.
Dude, what is the comparison being made? She goes, get rid of your Jewy gestures and your nose. And then she's saying, get rid of Zionism.
Yeah, 100%. I really, really interesting to move on from like Jewy gestures to Zionism.
Yeah.
Especially when like even in the logic of what she's talking about there, right? Like loads of people really like Jewish comedy and like Curb Your Enthusiasm is like
I love that show.
Yeah, it's like a show that has like a lot of references to Jewish culture, Jewish traditions, like Jewish things that are like kind of seen as funny. and are not kind of getting rid of them. And I don't doubt that what she's saying,
Yeah.
that there's truth and merit, that like people are like, yeah, you got to get rid of that shit. You know, we don't want like person with Goldstein or whatever working in
For sure.
in anything
sure.
that we're to do with. But like, it's a big leap to go from like kind of immutable characteristics. I mean, Zach Polanski in the UK, like our current like the Green Party leader, right? His name was not Polanski. He changed it back because his family's Jewish, and they just changed their names because they were like, yeah, we don't want to deal with the anti-Semitism shit. And he changed his name back because he's like, I'm Jewish, I want to keep that name. But like, like when you're just sort of keep drawing this like the similarity between that, it's unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable.
Yeah, she may be sneaky about how she's doing this, but at the end of the day, she is still using Judaism to shield her Zionism. She's doing that sleight of hand, that conflation, so that she can flippantly go back and forth between the two and be convenient whenever it's convenient. Oh, like Zionism is an integral part of Judaism, so therefore we can't get rid of our Zionism. So it's just she's purposefully doing the conflation, and I do think she's actually a pretty skilled orator, to be honest. I think she knows what she's doing, which makes it a bit worse.
And then you're safe. Today, it's, get rid of your Zionism and then you're safe. And so you see these poor kids who are like, they're like, my rabbi growing up told me Israel was great. And then I got to campus and I learned they were genocidal, colonial Nazis. I saw the light. I had an epiphany. And then I took anti-Zionism and anti-colonialism into my heart, and now I'm saved. And their classmates are like, now you're saved. You're a Jew who's seen the light.
I think also it's not just about like, people aren't specifically happy when Jewish people do it. Like, people are just happy, like, people who are pro-Palestine are happy when fucking anyone does it, And they, like, care about Palestinian suffering and take it into their heart, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she's completely overlooking the fact that if a Christian student also wore a pro-Israel T-shirt on a campus, they would also get ridiculed. They would also get scolded. So again, she's just obfuscating on purpose.
And I think as well, it doesn't take into account the fact that like campuses are diverse spaces which quite possibly have Palestinians either from Gaza or from the West Bank and if you're wearing like a pro-Israel T-shirt or wearing like an Israeli flag or something, that's going to have a very specific meaning for Palestinians, which is the flag that's, carved into Palestinian land, carved into them.
Skulls.
Yeah. Like I don't think that you can escape that fact of like, hey, this Star of David has really been taken on as the flag that's emblazoned on the Israeli tank, that's like Israeli soldiers raise in Gaza and spray paint on people's houses. People are always going to find that like to be a symbol that has taken on a very different meaning today than once was.
Well, symbols change in meaning and usage, and unfortunately, we're seeing now a symbol originally of faith being used in such a way where it voids those connotations. So, I'm not looking forward to what happens with that type of iconography in the future.
100%. And like the Israeli flag, most definitely is just a hate symbol.
Absolutely. If I saw someone with an Israeli flag, I would think, okay, this is an ethno-supremacist. There's not really any way around that at this point.
Yeah, like, I don't care, like, looking for whether someone's got, like, a Star of David. Like, who's really doing that? No. But, like, if I see someone waving an Israeli flag around, I'm like, why would I want to go anywhere near this person? Because this person's going to be crazy and pro-Israel.